1969, a man stepped onto the moon, and the whole world watched it live.
The first man on the moon. Was it Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, John Glenn, or Yuri Gagarin?
It's Neil Armstrong. This is U.S. History 102.
At most colleges, this class costs over $1,000. With CLEP, you can test out for about 100.
But only if you can pass. 20 questions. Reconstruction to today. 16 is a pass. Are you ready? Quiz starts in 3, 2, 1. Question 1. The constitutional amendment that abolished slavery in 1865 was the A. 14th Amendment, B. 13th Amendment,
C. 15th Amendment, D. 10th Amendment.
The answer is B. 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, ended slavery throughout the United States. The 14th then granted citizenship, and the 15th protected voting rights.
Question 2. The era of rebuilding the South after the Civil War was called
A. Reconstruction, B. The Gilded Age,
C. The Progressive Era,
D. Redemption.
The answer is A. Reconstruction. Reconstruction, from 1865 to 1877, was the period of rebuilding the South and defining the rights of formerly enslaved people.
Question 3. The Southern laws that enforced racial segregation for decades after Reconstruction were known as
A. The Homestead Acts, B. The Fugitive Slave Acts,
C. The Force Acts, D. Jim Crow laws.
The answer is D. Jim Crow laws.
Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation across the South, upheld by the 1896 Supreme Court ruling that allowed separate but equal facilities.
Question 4. The first transcontinental railroad was completed in 1869 by driving a ceremonial
A silver dollar.
B. Cornerstone,
C. Golden Spike, D. Final rail.
The answer is C. Golden Spike.
The Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869 at Promontory Summit, Utah, joined by a ceremonial golden spike that linked the country coast to coast.
Question 5. Wealthy industrialists like Carnegie and Rockefeller, who dominated the late 1800s, were nicknamed
A. Robber barons. B. Carpetbaggers.
C. Muckrakers, D. Populists.
The answer is A. Robber barons.
Critics called the era's powerful industrialists robber barons for amassing vast fortunes in steel and oil, often by crushing their competition.
Question 6. Journalists who exposed corruption and harsh conditions in the early 1900s were called
A. Robber barons.
B. Populists, C. Muckrakers, D. Federalists.
The answer is C. Muckrakers.
Muckrakers were investigative journalists like Upton Sinclair, whose exposés of business and government spurred progressive-era reforms. Question 7. The 1920 amendment that gave women the right to vote was the A. 18th Amendment, B. 19th Amendment, C. 17th Amendment, D. 15th Amendment.
The answer is B, 19th Amendment.
The 19th Amendment, ratified in 1920, guaranteed women the right to vote. The 18th, by contrast, had begun prohibition.
Question 8. The United States entered World War I in 1917, largely in response to
A, the attack on Pearl Harbor. B, the sinking of the Maine. C, the invasion of Poland. D, German submarine warfare.
The answer is D, German submarine warfare.
Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare, including the sinking of the Lusitania, plus the Zimmermann telegram, drew the United States into World War I in 1917.
Question 9. President Woodrow Wilson's plan for peace after World War I was called the
A, 14 points. B, New Deal. C, Square Deal. D, Marshall Plan.
The answer is A, 14 points. Wilson's 14 points outlined his vision for peace, including a League of Nations, though the United States ultimately never joined the League.
Question 10. The nationwide ban on alcohol from 1920 to 1933 was known as
A, the Red Scare. B, the Great Migration. C, Prohibition.
D, the New Deal.
The answer is C, Prohibition.
Prohibition, set by the 18th Amendment, banned alcohol nationwide and fueled organized crime until it was repealed in 1933.
Question 11. The stock market crash that began the Great Depression happened in
A, 1919.
B, 1941.
C, 1933.
D, 1929.
The answer is D, 1929.
The stock market crashed in October 1929, triggering the Great Depression, the worst economic downturn in American history.
Question 12. President Franklin Roosevelt's programs to fight the Depression were collectively called the
A Great Society.
B, New Deal. C,
Fair Deal.
D, New Frontier.
The answer is B, New Deal. Roosevelt's New Deal created programs like Social Security and the Works Progress Administration to provide relief, recovery, and reform in the 1930s. Question 13. The United States entered World War II after the 1941 attack on
A, Pearl Harbor. B, Midway. C, Normandy. D, Hiroshima.
The answer is A, Pearl Harbor. Japan's surprise attack on the naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, on December 7, 1941, brought the United States into World War II. Question 14. The 1944 Allied invasion of German-occupied France was known as A.V.E. Day.
B, the Battle of the Bulge.
C, D-Day. D, the Tet Offensive. The answer is C, D-Day. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, Allied forces landed at Normandy, opening the Western Front that helped end the war in Europe. Question 15. World War II in the Pacific ended after the United States dropped atomic bombs on A, Tokyo and Kyoto. B, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. C, Berlin and Munich.
D. Pearl Harbor and Midway. The answer is B. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, and Japan surrendered days later, ending World War II.
Question 16. The decades-long rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union after 1945 was called the
A. Second World War.
B. Vietnam War. C. Spanish-American War.
D. Cold War. The answer is D. Cold War.
The Cold War was a long standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union, fought through arms races, proxy wars, and the space race rather than direct combat.
Question 17. The 1954 Supreme Court case that declared school segregation unconstitutional was A. Brown v. Board of Education, B. Plessy v. Ferguson, C. Roe v. Wade,
D. Madbury v. Madison.
The answer is A. Brown v. Board of Education.
Brown v. Board of Education overturned the separate but equal doctrine and ordered the desegregation of public schools, a landmark of the civil rights movement.
Question 18. The leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement who gave the I Have a Dream speech was A.
Malcolm X, B. Thurgood Marshall,
C. Martin Luther King Jr.
D. Frederick Douglass. The answer is C. Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. led the nonviolent civil rights movement and delivered his I Have a Dream speech at the 1963 March on Washington.
Question 19. The 1962 confrontation that brought the superpowers closest to nuclear war was the A. Bay of Pigs invasion, B. Cuban Missile Crisis,
C. Korean War,
D. Berlin Airlift.
The answer is B. Cuban Missile Crisis.
The Cuban Missile Crisis was a 13-day standoff in 1962 over Soviet missiles in Cuba, the closest the Cold War came to nuclear war.
Question 20. The Berlin Wall, a symbol of the Cold War divide, fell in
A. 1945,
B. 1963,
C. 1991, D. 1989. The answer is D. 1989.
The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 marked the collapse of communist control in Eastern Europe, and the Soviet Union itself dissolved 2 years later.
So, how'd you do? 11 or fewer, and there are real gaps to close. 12 to 15, you're on a solid track. 16 or more, and you're likely ready for the real thing. Get your full adaptive learning plan at flyingprep.com.